All right, so the power rule. So this is probably the first rule that you need to learn when you start learning about start learning calculus and differentiation. So all it is, it's a pretty simple concept. So all it is the power term that you have is going to move to the front, and you subtract this by 1, this power term by 1. So if I write it out, it will be 4x to the power of 4 minus 1. Or it will just be 4x to the power of 3, right? So it's pretty simple. So let's try a different one. So we got d over dx. So we have x to the power of 2. So we're going to have 2x to the power of 1, right? So we have 2 minus 1 becomes 1, or just becomes, you don't have to write the power of 1, just 2x. So that's pretty much it. That's simple as it gets. And if you follow that concept, there's going to be a lot of different situations, but if you follow that concept, you will always be able to find the solution. So let's have a few more. Let's try. We'll go step by step. Let's try x to the power of -1, right? So same thing. We need to, now it's a negative number, so we need to move the -1 to the front. So we have a -1 x, -1 minus 1 is going to be -2. Okay, so we're going to have this. Now, because we have a negative exponent, we can convert this, we can rewrite this like this. -1 over x to the power of 2. Okay, so just remember, if we have a negative power, then the x raised by the number will be converted into this. Okay, so if we have, let's have another one. Let's go 4x to the power of -4. All right, so now we have, this is going to move to the front. Okay, so we have -4 and 4. So what happens here is these two numbers will multiply. Okay, so in this situation, these two numbers multiply, and we have a -4 multiplied by 4, -16, right? -16x, -4 minus 1 to the -5, right? And then all that does is become this, -16 over x to the power of 5. And then you've solved this situation. So if you have, let's have another situation that is related. So we go dx. So let's go, now if we have, let's say we have 3 over x to the power of 2. So in this situation, what we want to do is convert it into this form, right? So we can follow the rules. Right? So this will be equal to 3x to the power of -2, right? Because we're bringing this up here. So then we have power of 3x to the power of -2. -2 times 3, -6. X to the power of -3. And then we can rearrange. So then we have -6 over x to the power of 3. There's probably a couple more situations where you can practice, but it'll be like, maybe you get something like 1 over square root of x, right? So if you know square root of x is equal to x to the power of 1 over 2. right? So if we come here, we got 1 x to the power of 1 over 2. And if we bring that term at the top, let's keep the 1 just to keep track of what we're doing. 1 x to the power of negative 1 over 2. We're going to multiply by 1. So it's going to be negative 1 over 2x. Now we're subtracting 1 here, right? So what we're doing here is subtracting 1 from 1 over 2. So 1 over 2 minus 1, or you can think of 1 over 2 minus 1 over 2 minus 2 over 2, right? So we'll write it here just to simplify. So we've got minus 1 over 2 minus 2 over 2. And then, running out of room, but we'll write it here. We've got negative 1 over 2 x to the power of negative 3 over 2. Now, from here, we can move it back. So we got a negative 1 over 2 x to the power of 3 over 2. All right, so what if we have something like this? This is equivalent to x to the power of 1 over 3, right? And now we can solve this as well. So sometimes you need to just understand how to convert, or how to what these symbols mean, and how to rearrange it in a way where you can solve the problem, right? So sometimes if you look at this, it might not make any sense, but you just need to know that all this means is x to the power of 1 over 3. All right, so we just have 1 over 3x. And here we have 1 over 3 minus, it's going to be a 3 over 3, right? Because it's a 1. So we're going to have minus 2 over 3, right? So 1 minus 3 is minus 2, so we have 2 minus 2 over 3. Okay, so same thing, we need to move this x under here with the 3. So we're going to have 1 over 3x to the power of 2 over 3. Maybe do one more. So we go x to the 0. So what would this be? So you just follow the same rules. 0x. This can be minus 1. So it'll be minus 1, right? But anything multiplied by 0 is going to be 0. Okay, so you don't have to even worry about it. So whenever you see x to the power of 0, it's always going to be 0. Okay, so, and then we can go probably a similar one, x to the power of 1. This is going to become 1x to the power of 0. Anything to the power of 0 is equal to 1. Okay, so you can solve like that. And that's pretty much the power rule. And it's just about practicing, looking at what the symbols mean, like in this situation, what the symbol means, trying to convert it in a way where you can solve it really simply, and then just follow the steps. The most important thing with calculus is you need to be really methodical and really clear about what you're doing, because once you get into really complex problems, or even more complex problems, you're going to have several rows of working out, and you'll need to make sure you can keep track of everything. once you get really comfortable, then you can skip steps. You don't even need to write everything out. But when you're starting, try and write as much of it out as possible and just keep track of everything. And then if it's not matching the solution, or if you're not getting the solution, then you can go back and see where you made the mistake. So that's pretty much, that's the power rule. That's as simple or as complex as you'll get.